Hey guys, thanks for joining me for Learn to Play Games. My name is Lance, and today I'm going to teach you how to play Terrors of London. This is a new game from Kolossal Games. It is a two-player game that takes roughly 20 to 40 minutes to play, and it is a competitive deck builder, so each of the players is going to be competing against the other player to eliminate the other player's health, and the player that does this first will be the overall winner of the game. So in the game itself, each player is going to be playing a powerful overlord that is going to try to gain resources to be able to purchase additional monsters from the 4 different clans, which are undead, spirits, beasts, and mortals. And throughout the game, as they do this, they're also going to be potentially buying powerful relics that are going to help them in their quest to defeat the other player, and be able to buy the right cards in order to create hordes that will create powerful combos and different things that will be able to help defeat the other player. So my thoughts on this one, I've had a really good time with this one so far, and I would highly recommend this one to anyone that really enjoys deck builders and competitive deck builders, especially creating combos and whatnot, as well as the setting itself, which is Victorian London. They did a really good job with the artwork. I really enjoyed the artwork with this one, and the rulebook is really well laid out as well. There wasn't a lot of complications with things. There was a couple issues that I would have liked to see a little bit more on, but overall, like I said, pretty good on the rulebook. Now, with the components to this one, I would have liked to see a little bit better card stock with it being a deck builder, but other than that, everything else was really well done. The artwork was amazing on this one. I really enjoyed the artwork with this, and I can't wait to see some of the expansions that they have planned for this one as well. The rulebook doesn't really specify one way or the other with the player count, and so right now it's a head-to-head, but I could definitely see this one turning into more than that in the future as well with some of the expansions, so we'll have to wait and see what happens with that. But like I said, this is one that I would definitely recommend for players that are looking for a head-to-head game that is a competitive deck builder and they enjoy the theme or art style as well. So if you enjoyed these videos, if you like what I do, please consider hitting that like button, subscribing to my channels. It really does help me to continue to grow and be able to bring these games to teach you how to play them. If you want to stay up to date on all my videos, also consider ringing that bell so you get notifications anytime I release new content. So let's head to the table and I'll teach you guys how to play. Terrors of London has 4 different factions: mortals, beasts, undead, and spirits. Each of these factions is going to be led by an overlord, and the players at the beginning of the game will choose an overlord. As expansions get added on, there will be more overlords to choose from, but currently we only have these 4 here. Once a player has selected an overlord, each overlord's card is going to list the name of that overlord, its special ability that it can use during its turn, the faction it's associated with, and the number of hit points it has, and you'll have a tracker that will track it until it's dead as well. Each overlord's card has a space for their relics to be placed, which a player can have up to 3 relics at any time, and then we also have a spot for their deck and discard pile, as well as a spot for their play area. Moving over to the cards, there'll be 2 different decks the players are going to be working with throughout the game. The first one are the Acolytes, which is going to be a small deck of 8 cards and is going to be comprised of 2 of each of the factions. Each of these cards is going to provide the players with 2 coins when played. Then we have the Market cards, which are going to be comprised of 2 different kinds of cards. We have Relic cards and Monster cards. At the top of each of these cards is going to be the cost to purchase that card from the market, and underneath that is going to be an icon of that card. So Relics will have the pair of daggers, and Monsters are going to have a faction that they're associated with. Underneath that, we have the image of the monster or relic, the name of the monster or relic, and then we have the resource symbols. There are 3 main resources in this game. We have coins, power, and regeneration. Then some of the cards are also going to have a single word that is all capitalized, which are going to be the keyword abilities, and I'll explain this a little bit more later. Underneath that, some of the cards are also going to have triggered or unique abilities or effects that are going to be resolved after you resolve your resources and your keywords. Finally, the monster cards are also going to have the horde symbols at the bottom and the horde ability that can be activated, and I'll explain how horde works a little bit more later on. For player setup, each player is going to choose a overlord that they want to play as, and then once they have their overlord's card, they're going to gather the 4 influence cards from that overlord and choose 2 of them. If this is your first couple games, it is recommended to take the 2 influence cards with the little icon in the bottom of the card. Otherwise, if you want to, you can choose any 2 of the cards to add to your deck. Each overlord will also get a marker to mark their health, which you'll place it on the highest number on that track. And then if you need it, there are also little tokens that will mark the power and coins the player will have each turn. And you can use these on the bottom of the card to track those if you need to. Otherwise, you can just do it mentally. Each player is also going to start with 3 fanatics, which will grant them 1 power when played, and 5 cultists, which will give them 1 coin when played. So basically 2 of the basic resources. Each player also will get a reference guide, which will list all the different keywords and explain how those work. Once a player has chosen their 2 influence cards, they'll be able to add the rest of the cards together, and this will be their starting deck of cards, which they will shuffle up, and then they are ready to begin the game. Once the players have chosen their cards and set up their area, then we're ready to move on to board setup. So the first thing you're going to do is grab the market deck, go ahead and shuffle it up, and then place it out in the middle of the board on one end. From there, then you're going to reveal the first 5 cards of that deck, laying them out in front of the players. Then you'll go ahead and grab the small deck of acolytes and shuffle that up as well, and you can place it on the other end of the market deck. Next, you can place out the tokens for the haunt and muster in the middle of the table. Alternatively, you can give each player a certain number of these that they can set off to the side as well, whichever is easier for you guys. Then finally, the players are going to choose a starting player, and you can do this in any manner you want to. From there, once a player is selected, so we'll have our player down here be the starting player, that player will draw 4 cards to start their hand, and the other player will draw 5. From there, we're ready to begin the game. Terrors of London is played over an undefined number of rounds. During each round, each player will get to take a turn, and during each player's turn, they will resolve 3 different phases, which are the action phase, cleanup phase, and draw phase. And I'm going to take you through each one of these in order. The first phase in a player's turn is the action phase. During this phase, the player can play any combination of actions in any order they choose as many times as they wish. The one exception to this is the pass action, which will end the player's turn. Now, there are 8 different actions the player can choose from, which are the play action, buy action, attack action, hoard action, relic action, overlord action, haunt action, and finally the pass action. And I'm going to take you through each one of these actions to show you how they work. The first action we're going to look at is a play action, which will allow you to play a card from your hand. You'll play that in the play area, and then you'll resolve the effects on the card. So let's start off, as this is the beginning of the game. All we really have right now are basic cards or influence cards, so we'll start off with a basic card. So when we play this card, then we'll resolve any of the effects, gaining any resources that are listed on the card. So with the Fanatic, it's going to give us 1 power, which again, you can either keep this in mind, or you can use your little trackers to track that. From there, then you can continue playing cards or resolve other effects. So let's say that we play another card. So this is a cultist. He's going to add 1 coin. So then we can adjust our token and have a coin. Again, we'll play another cultist and gain a 2nd coin. And then let's look at a different type of card. We'll have influence cards. So with an influence card, you're going to gain the resources that are listed on the top of the card. So we'll gain 2 power. So now we're up to 3. Then, if we have played a monster that matches our faction, then we will also benefit from the rest of the card. So with this one, we would have to play a beast monster first before we could benefit from this. So we wouldn't want to play this card until we play that if we have one. As we don't right now, it does not matter, and we'll simply gain the 2 power. Now, the last type of card we're going to look at is a monster card. So with this one, if we played this card, again, we would gain the resources that are listed on it first, and then if there are any keywords, we would resolve those effects, and then finally we'll go to the bottom of the card and resolve any triggers or unique abilities. With this one, it will give us 2 coins, or we can curse our opponent. And when you curse an opponent, they have to choose to either lose 2 health or discard 1 card from their hand. So our player gets to choose between those 2 options if they had played this card. The buy action will allow you to spend coins that you've acquired throughout your turn to purchase a card from the market. And you can do this any number of times as long as you have coins to spend. Now, there are 2 different types of cards you can buy from the market, the relic cards. So let's go ahead and say that we were going to buy a relic card. It's going to cost us 1 coin. And then we would place that relic right into our relic area, and we can choose to activate it later on during the turn. Now, anytime you've purchased a card, you'll refill the area with a new card. Then, if we have any more coins, we could do that again. So we could go ahead and purchase another card. Now, some of the monsters are going to have the claim keyword, which means that you'll add that monster, you can add it to the top of your deck, or it'll go to your discard pile. Otherwise, regular monsters that do not have the claim keyword will just simply be added to your discard pile when purchasing. So let's go ahead and say that we purchase the Demonologist here. He'll be placed into our discard pile. The attack action will allow us to spend any power that we have to attack our opponent. So with our example here, we have 3 power right now, so we could hit our opponent for 3 points of damage. Now, if our opponent has any armor, it will reduce that by the number of armor points that the opponent has. So we will attack our opponent for 3 damage, and then we'll move that token off as we have spent that attack power. The horde action is going to be a little more tricky. So with this one, I'm going to show you an example. So we're going to go ahead again and say that we've played the priest, and then we have also played the bat beast, as you have to use monsters that are already in your play area. So once you do that and you choose to do a horde action, it is going to let you either form a new horde or add to an existing horde. And you cannot take a horde action unless you have monsters in your play area that are compatible with the horde indicators. So in order to be compatible, you have to have a monster with the faction icon that matches one of the bottom horde indicating faction icons. So let's go ahead and look at an example of this. With this, we have the priest and the bat beast here. His faction icon matches the faction icon at the bottom of the priest card, and the second indicator are the arrows that are on the bottom of the card, which also have to match. So we have the yellow arrow on top and the white arrow on the bottom. And you'll also notice that the priest's faction icon matches the bat beast's faction icon at the bottom. As long as both of these statements are true, then you can form a horde with these 2 cards. And the book provides excellent examples, as you guys can see here as well, of both compatible and incompatible cards. Now, once you form a horde, then you can activate one of the abilities at the bottom of one of the cards that forms that horde. So with this horde formation, we can either choose to activate Sacrifice, or we can regenerate 1 point. And it's up to us how we want to do it. Now, each one of these can only be activated once, so if we add another monster to this horde, we can again choose to activate one of these abilities, but only the ability that has not been activated yet. So in this situation, if we chose the regeneration, and then we added another creature to this horde, we could not choose that again. We'd have to choose a sacrifice or another ability on another creature. Now, some of the creatures, as you can see here, have 2 abilities, and this does not mean that you would get both. You would have to choose one of these abilities to activate when you create this creature or form a horde with this creature. So you could either choose to sacrifice or to destroy. You could not choose both. Now, if you activate or add to that horde later, then you can choose that other ability. The relic action is going to allow you to activate one of your unused relic cards. Each relic card can only be used once per turn, and once activated, you'll resolve any effects on that card. So for example, with the Healing Locust here, it'll grant us regeneration equal to the number of relics in our play area. As we only have this one, we'd only get 1 regeneration point, and our player is already at his max. He can never gain more health than he has on his card, so we will not be activating that this turn. The Overlord action is going to allow us to use our special ability on our Overlord card. So for example, with our player here, this one is going to allow us to buy a monster in the street with a cost of 3 or less using a combination of power and coins, and I can only use this once per turn. As we do not have any of that left, we cannot choose to use this turn, but we could have, instead of using that 3 power to attack our other player, with this ability, it would allow us to buy a monster instead. The next action we're going to look at is the Haunt action. In order to explain this, I'm first going to need to cover Haunt. So let's go ahead and say, for example, that we had played this card previously in the turn, and then we also played the Wraith here. Now the Wraith has the Haunt ability, which means that you are going to take a Haunt token and place that on one of your active creatures, which is one of the monsters that is in your play area. Now you can choose the creature that has Haunt, or you can choose another creature. As I do like the Muster ability on our Bat Beast, we're going to go ahead and place it on him. Now, at the end of our turn, normally all the monsters are going to be discarded to the discard pile, but any monster that has the Haunt token on it is going to be flipped over to the discard, to the dismiss side, and will stay in our player's active area. During the next turn now, then we can do a Haunt action which will allow us to reactivate this card, gaining 2 power and the Muster keyword ability, and any other abilities that are listed on that monster. At the end of that monster's turn, then any monster that has a Haunt with the dismiss side will also be discarded to the discard pile, and the token will be returned. Now the other important thing is, for example, if we placed it on our Wraith here, at the end of the turn again, this would be flipped over to the dismiss side, and then during our next turn, this Wraith will still be here. When we activate it again, we can never place another Haunt token on a creature or a monster that already has a Haunt token, whether it is Haunt or on the dismiss side. The other important thing is if we form a horde with a creature that has a haunt token on it, it will automatically be flipped over to the dismiss side when that horde is formed, and then at the end of the turn that monster will be discarded along with the rest. The final action you can play is a pass action, and the pass action is going to end your action phase. You can only take the pass action if you have one or no cards in your hand, and if you have one card in your hand and you choose to take the pass action, you can choose to place that card face down on top of your draw deck, being able to draw that card next turn. Once we're done with that, then we're ready to move on to the second phase in a player's turn, which is the cleanup phase. During the cleanup phase, you're going to remove all influence and monster cards that do not have haunt tokens on them to your discard pile. Once you're done with that, then if there are any monsters that have haunt tokens on them, they are going to be flipped over to the dismiss side. Other things, you're going to reset all of your tokens that you have. All your resources are going to drop down to 0 as you cannot take resources from one round to the next. And finally, relic cards are never going to be discarded to your discard pile. They will, if you have relic cards that are out, they're always going to stay out for you. The final phase in a player's turn is the draw phase. During the draw phase, the player is going to draw 5 cards from their draw deck. If they are out of draw cards, then they go ahead and shuffle up their discard pile and add it back and create a new draw deck. The one exception to this is if the player has muster tokens next to their draw deck. With the muster tokens, they're going to draw a number of additional cards based on the number of tokens they have. So for example, with this player, he has 1 muster token, so he would draw 6 cards into his hand. Once he is done resolving those, any muster tokens that he has are going to be returned to the pile at the end of the draw phase. At this point, then it would pass to the next player to start their turn. Now that we've covered all the details, let me take you through a couple more turns to show you the game in action. So we'll move over to our other player here, and he's going to go ahead and take his turn. So let's go ahead and start. We'll play a cultist to get a coin. And then we'll activate this ability. So it says that we can draw 1 card and then discard a card. You can use this ability once per turn. So we'll go ahead and draw a new card. And we've got another cultist. So let's go ahead and discard a fanatic, as the 1 power isn't really going to help us this turn. So then we'll play another cultist and get another coin. We're up to 4, and then we'll play the influence card. This is going to get us a coin as well. And we do not have a undead creature out in our area yet, so we will not get the secondary ability. From there, then we can go ahead and spend some of our resources to get some stuff. So let's go ahead and spend 1 and get this ghoul here. So he is going to be added to, with his claim ability, he can be added to the top of our draw pile. So we'll go ahead and do that. And then we'll reveal a new card. And then let's go ahead and take a look at getting a relic, as we have a couple out there to choose from. Let's go ahead and gain this relic here. And then again, we'll refill our section here. And then we have 2 more points to work with, so we could buy an acolyte if we wanted to. So let's go ahead and do that. We'll spend our last 2 to get an acolyte. So, all right, we got an undead one, not bad. Then with this one, it's going to gain us 1 regeneration, so we'll go ahead and do that. And it says you may destroy a monster in the street, so if we wanted to, we could destroy one of those monsters. We're okay with that right now. So at this point, then our player's turn is over. We'll go ahead and pass, as we're out of cards from our hands. So at this point, then we'll go ahead and draw up a new hand of cards. So we'll get 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And since we do not need to draw any cards yet from our draw pile, we will not reshuffle our discard pile. At this point, then we'll pass it over to our next player to take his turn. Moving back over to our player over here, I went ahead and added a couple cards to his hand just to show you a little bit more of an advanced turn. So we'll go ahead and start with playing our cards again. So we have 2 fanatics we're going to go ahead and play, and that'll get us 2 power. We have the cultist that we'll play to gain 1 coin. And then I have 2 monsters, so we're going to go ahead and play the troll. And this guy's going to get us 1 power. And it says that we're going to gain 2 coins the first time we gain health this turn. So currently we can't gain health in any way, but we're going to go ahead and play this Ghast as well. He's going to give us 2 power. And then we're also going to form a horde, as our 2 characters here match up. The icons are going to match, and as well as the bottoms are going to match. So at this point, then we'll make these guys a horde, and then we can choose one of the bottom horde abilities to activate. We can either regenerate 1 health, which won't get us anything, or we can gain 2 more power. So we're going to go ahead and gain 2 more power. And so then we're going to spend that power to deal damage. So that is going to be 7 damage to our other player there. So he's going to lose a ton of points there. He'll be down to 31. And then we have 1 coin to work with, which isn't really going to be enough to purchase anything. So we'll simply waste that this turn. Then all these cards will be removed and added to our discard pile. And then we'll redraw. We have 2, and then we'll go ahead and shuffle up the rest and draw a new hand. And like I said, at this point, the game is going to continue going back and forth until one of the player's health has been eliminated or dropped down to his dead marker. At that point, the other player will be the winner of the game. Well, I hope you guys found that video helpful. If you have any questions or comments, leave those in the comment section below and I'll do my best to answer them. As always, thank you so much for taking the time to watch my videos and leave me feedback on them. I do really appreciate it, and I do take into account everything you guys say to make the best possible videos. And if you enjoy these videos, if you like what I do, please consider hitting that like button and subscribing to my channel, as it really makes a big difference and helps me to continue to grow. Until next time, I'll see you guys later.